the industrial fishing crew leaves the coast behind, heading for remote, deep-sea grounds. Each mile pushes the fishermen farther from safety and deeper into commercial fishing waters. The sea begins to test both hull and fishermen as the vessel enters rougher offshore conditions. These offshore routes overlap migration corridors of mature, giant great white sharks. Past records describe rare encounters with exceptionally large great white sharks in these waters. The crew draws their longline plan around feeding patterns linked to giant great white sharks. Every swivel and cable must survive the strike of a massive shark built for sudden acceleration. Properly prepared bait turns empty water into a working deep-sea fishing ground for the crew. Out here, only the longline vessel, its fishermen, and the deep water decide the outcome. Travel ends and work begins as the crew prepares to commit hundreds of baited hooks to the deep. The fishermen start feeding a continuous chain of baited hooks into the dark water behind the vessel. Rhythm and precision keep the longline evenly spread, maximizing contact with roaming predators below.
Each drifting bait becomes a potential meeting point between the fisherman's gear and a giant great white shark.
These faint shifts tell experienced fishermen that something heavy is beginning to test the line. At Lost, a giant great white shark shows its full form beneath the longline spread. Subtle surges through the cable tell the fishermen that a powerful shark has joined the spread. The gear draws tight, signaling that something heavy is circling among the hooks. The giant great white shark moves with calm control, inspecting suspended baits in open, deep water. The fishermen feel the first real communication from the shark through their gear. Deep turbulence reveals the presence of a single, very large animal moving just out of clear view. The giant great white shark now examines one bait at arm's length, weighing risk against hunger. Line behavior tells the crew the shark is no longer just passing through. It is now engaged.
The shark tests the long line, pushing against steel that does not yield like natural prey.
With one deliberate pass, the giant great white shark turns the calm longline field into shifting, turbulent water. One decisive hit tells the men below deck and on deck that the real fight is about to start. Each turn from the giant great white shark bends the longline into new shapes, forcing steel to follow muscle. The circling giant great white shark winds the line around its own movements, increasing strain on the gear.
The fishermen listen to motors and steel to judge how hard the shark is now pulling. The predator abandons slow tests and begins driving straight through the baited corridor. In a single violent strike, the giant great white shark commits itself to the fisherman's gear. Now the fishermen feel the full strength of a hooked giant great white shark.
The hooked great white shark twists and forces the gear to follow its unpredictable path.
The giant great white shark uses its own bulk to torque the line and strain the hooks.
Each man picks his stance carefully, knowing a sudden release could throw them across the deck.
The giant great white shark now drives toward the surface, pulling the fight into the fisherman's world. The shark's power begins to carve a trail on the surface that every fisherman can read. Industrial machinery now stands between the fishermen and the full force of the great white shark.
Each violent burst costs the shark precious energy, but shakes the gear to its limits.
The fisherman sensed the shark is lining up for a final run toward the light above.
In a dramatic breach, the giant great white shark shows its entire length above the waves.
The crew uses those brief seconds after impact to drag more line back toward the vessel. Staying pinned near the 150-meter vessel, the shark loses options as the deck crew gains control. One savage headshake could snap hardware or tear open the shark's own mouth.
Impact against the steel hull proves how far the shark will go to escape the longline.
Now industrial lifting gear joins the fight, matching steel against muscle on the open deck.
With one sudden drop, the shark drags the fight back under the long steel hull.
Only an animal of this mass can make such a large vessel lean against the sea.
For the first time, the crew sees the shark pinned close beside their own steel wall.
The fishermen must hold steady or risk losing both the shark and vital gear.
In one explosive move, the shark escapes the first lift and reclaims open water for a moment.
The fishermen lean into their equipment, knowing the shark's reserves are not endless.
Even fatigued, the shark can still swing the entire vessel off its preferred course.
A second breach proves the shark will burn every last reserve in its fight to get free.
The crew uses the disoriented moment after impact to shorten the line further.
The shark rises nearer to the rail with each pull, losing advantage from depth.
At last, the shark's full weight slams onto the wide deck of the industrial longline vessel.
Even out of the water, every uncontrolled movement could injure a fisherman or damage equipment. The crew must stop the slide or risk the shark rolling back overboard with their gear.
Heavy webbing links the shark's strength to the steel structure of the longline vessel.
The once unstoppable predator now lies pinned by the combined effort of machinery and men.
With the shark on deck, the crew still must clear every meter of gear from the sea.
The line carries evidence of a single, enormous struggle in an empty stretch of ocean.
Even secured, the giant great white shark finds one more burst of dangerous energy.
Small movements still carry weight when they come from a fish of this size.
Fine control prevents damaging the catch or tearing hardware from the vessel.
Hanging in the rigging, the shark shows just how far it extends beyond the beam of the vessel.
The crew wants the shark secure before fatigue and darkness change conditions again.
The battle winds down as the shark gives its last strength to the steel around it.
The ocean settles, leaving only the longline vessel and its hard-won catch above the deep. Bright deck lights turn the night shift into a focused working stage for the fishermen. Redundancy keeps men and catch safe if one tie-down fails under motion or weather.
That last big movement reminds the crew why every piece of gear must be secured.
At last, the fishermen stand over a fully subdued giant great white shark. Cleaning the deck prepares the workspace for the detailed tasks that will follow.
Only now can the crew appreciate the scale of the animal they have worked so hard to land.
Before anything else moves forward, the fishermen begin by confirming the shark's overall length.
42!
Simple tools capture figures that will later travel with this catch through the cold chain.
Cross-checking length helps avoid errors when the shark is this large.
Girth measurements give a rough picture of health and condition in these feeding grounds. To read weight accurately, the crew must let the scale, not the deck, support the load.
Suspended above steel, the shark's mass finally appears as hard numbers on the display.
45-20.
The reading places this catch among the biggest sharks the crew has ever handled.
With measurements taken, the crew settles the shark for the next phase of handling. The ocean settles, leaving only the Longline vessel and its hard-won catch above the deep.
Recording basic data aboard the vessel preserves facts that might otherwise fade with memory.
A clean surface reduces slipping hazards before the heavy transfer toward cold storage begins. The onboard cold room must be ready long before the shark moves inside.
Deck choreography now matters as much as strength. One wrong angle could jam the whole process.
Steel, rollers, and winches combine to move a body too heavy for human hands alone. The fishermen set up a stable cradle so the shark will rest safely in the freezing air. With the shark moving into cold storage, the open deck finally begins to feel empty again.
The crew guides every centimeter of the shark's path to avoid sudden shifts of weight.
A sealed door keeps temperature stable and protects both product and crew.
After the fight, the Longline vessel turns toward port, carrying one giant shark deep inside.
The Longline vessel enters the busy port, leaving open ocean work behind as it prepares for the handoff to land-based logistics.
Once moored, the crew can open cold storage and begin the handoff to land-based systems. The shark must now move from shipboard cold to shoreside refrigeration without breaking the cold chain.
The container will act as a mobile cold room, carrying the shark far beyond this harbor.
Once more, heavy equipment bridges the gap between sea-based work and land-based logistics.
Every centimeter of this transfer must be controlled to avoid damage or dangerous swinging weight. Solid bracing keeps mass from sliding when roads, rails, or sea routes turn rough. A sealed container becomes the shark's final storage environment before processing ashore. Now logistics vehicles take the lead, moving the container into the wider cargo system. Stacked among other containers, this one holds a story of risk, effort, and deep-sea skill. At the end of its refrigerated journey, the shark reaches a plant built to handle high-value seafood. Crews in protective gear now turn a single animal into many usable portions. At the end of the cold chain, specialists carefully break down the giant shark into exportable portions. These heavy slabs of giant great white shark are reduced into cleaner loins for later delivery. Packaging locks in quality and traceability from the vessel's deck to the final destination. Only selected portions are reserved for chefs who demand reliably sourced deep-sea product. Far from the working deck, the product arrives as a carefully handled ingredient.
The chef judges quality in seconds, seeing only the final form of months of work at sea.
Seasoning begins the culinary phase, shaping flavor from a fish that once ruled open water.
Heat transforms the dense flesh into something delicate enough for a restaurant plate. Presentation brings structure to what began as raw weight on an offshore deck.
In this room, only the final balance of flavors hints at the ocean work behind each serving.
Most diners will never feel the strain of a long line, only the result on their forks.
The fishermen's names are absent here, yet their decisions built this quiet moment.
Out at sea, the fishing grounds remain, ready to test whoever returns next.
For these fishermen, each encounter with giant great white sharks is part of an ongoing working life.
The ocean closes over the day's struggle, holding its silence until the next long line sets.